Hi there, Lester Fields here. I have a geothermal plant to find and a decision to make, but before I leave these deserters, I thought I'd look into the missing Zoe. I talked to a local named Stefan.
You hungry? We got canid ribs, canid flank, canid snout too. Something I can help you with? You mean Zoe? Yeah, we were pretty close. Not like her to go loping off. Zoe and I were gonna watch the serials, as is our custom. She never turned up. I looked around, but she was nowhere to be found. You sound like some type of corporate fixer asking all these questions. Zoe was always obsessed with this serial. Masked Marketeer. A scion of Byzantium turns to banditry and teaches his marauder companions the wisdom of free market economics. Shame she up and vanished when she did. I had a surprise lined up for her. The other day, I got my hands on a genuine copy of the latest Masked Marketeer. I was gonna surprise Zoe with it, but she was gone the next day. Can't say I recall Zoe ever acting strange. Well, except for her habit of writing things down on scraps of paper. She called it journaling, but I think it's just plain odd.
This guy seems to be close to Zoe and mentioned something about her habit of writing everything down. I decide to take a look at her house. Investigating yields Zoe's journal entry, page 22. So Zoe went off to join up with the Marauders? That could end badly. Parvati and I make our way to the Marauders' main camp, and though I try to sneak in, I step on a mine and alert the entirety of creation to my presence. There's a firefight, but Parvati and I come out on top. Once the Marauders are taken care of, I find Zoe, alive, thankfully.
Wow, you crossed them all off, like some sort of heroic accountant running down a list. Teach me your ways. What, you mean Adelaide's little congregation of nature-loving nobodies? I could not possibly be less interested in them. You, on the other hand, you were a sight to behold. If I had half your skills, I'd be the greatest outlaw the coast has ever seen. Why? Adelaide wants me back on garden duty or something? Thanks, but I'm not going anywhere. This is where I belong. I doubt that. Nobody in that camp really cared about me. Yeah, I suppose you're right. Also, he could carry on a conversation, unlike these hooligans. I'll take my stuff and head on back, I suppose. Grace is gonna be glaring knives at me, so I've got that to look forward to.
I managed to convince Zoe to return to the deserters, if only for Stefan's sake. Parvati and I head back to the botanical lab and to a relieved Grace.
What is it? We didn't always get along, but I'm glad to know she's safe. What happened, anyway? You pretty much did my job for me. Least I could do is pay you for your trouble. Let me know if I can do something for you.
Before heading out again, I decide to make some repairs to my gear at the local workbench. That's where I meet Thomas.
Oh, didn't see you there. I was just occupying myself with a little engineering. Whoa, Miss Parvati. Hey, you're, how are you? Hi, hello.
Are you, are things safe out here? How are you keeping?
Great, just great. I've been trying to keep stuff running, just like you. Only I'm not so... Wait, they didn't kick you out, did they?
Oh gosh, no, I'm just along with this fella here.
Are you from town? I mean, you don't exactly look like you're from town. Never heard it phrased in such a way before. I guess we're all trying to get our ships off the ground, ain't we? Sorry, I just wasn't sure if you were from town or if you were one of us. Something's been chewing at me, you see. Fact is, I've been, well, lying. To everybody here. Camp thinks I'm a mechanical genius, but I couldn't fix a busted chair. I'll take all the help I can get. I set my mind to learning the craft of the engineer, you see. I want to make something of myself. You ever heard of the Young Spacer's Guide to Mechanical Engineering? Comes in a set of 3. If I had my hands on one of those data pads, I could teach myself the ins and outs.
Those are good. My dad kept a copy with him when he was working in the cannery.
I know the old community center kept a copy. Should find another one back in town. If you could find me even one of those pads, I'd be greatly obliged. No kidding! Really? Well, which one? Look at that! Building a computing machine out of Spectrum potatoes, a primer. I'm just glad it survived all these years. I appreciate you going through all that trouble. In fact, I put aside something special, on the off chance that somebody'd search out those data pads for me. Sure, I'd be glad to take them off your hands.
I hand Thomas part 1 of the mechanical engineering datapad I happen to have found in my travels so far, and promise to look for the other 2 parts. Once I've got my gear patched up, Parvati and I are off to find that heretical book that Vicar Max asked about. We make our way to the collector's domicile where, of course, there are more marauders.
Eyes up! Nice one!
After an invigorating firefight, I enter the cannery here and find a collector's letter that explains the book was stashed in a nearby cave. So it's off to this cave near the river and yet more marauders.
We can handle this. Nice.
We take these guys down too, and I enter the cave. After narrowly escaping another mine, I find a safe, which I easily crack and retrieve the
Clever.
illustrated manual for Vicar Max. Traveling back to the church in Edgewater, I catch up with the vicar and hand him the book.
Any progress on that matter we discussed? Wonderful. This is fantastic. Well worth all the sacrifices I... Wait. What the fuck is this? Is this French? I can't fucking read French. It's a law-forsaken joke is what it is. French. Ha! I was so high and mighty, preaching to the yokels about following the plan, while fighting it at every turn. There is little more important than such a precious, rare text. I've spent my life searching for the keys to unlocking the secrets of the universal equation that underlies the plan. I had hoped this book held some of those answers. I became so desperate, I even got myself assigned to this plague-ridden backwater to find the damn thing. All the time and suffering I've spent. Wasted. Yes, you're right. Such are the workings of the equation. And I've only my own hubris to blame. I certainly never planned for this contingency. But that's neither here nor there. What I need to do now is to find a translator, obviously. But to do that, I'll first need to secure transport. You have a ship. Perhaps I could make myself of use to your crew. Certainly. I already gave you most of my money, but I can offer you free spiritual counseling, and I'd be happy to watch your back. I'm pretty handy with a tossball stick, or any blunt instrument really. I'm also a passable gun hand if it comes to that. I can usually talk my way out of conflict, though. Oh, I'm fairly competent at hacking computers as well. Fantastic. Let me get my things in order and I'll catch up with you.
Edgewater's gonna miss you. Folk here always had good things to say about their vicar.
Thank you, Ms. Holcomb. I'll be glad for the change of scenery, and to leave this place behind. I shall see you on the ship, Captain, whenever you're ready to leave Emerald Vale.
It seems the vicar needs to find someone who can speak the French language, and I've agreed to take him on my ship in exchange for some free spiritual counseling, as well as his aid when it comes to firefights and such. He promises to meet me back at my ship. While I'm here in Edgewater, I remember Parvati mentioning that her dad had read a volume of that mechanical engineering datapad while working at the cannery. We make a stop over there, and in a room on the second floor, I find Volume 2. Then it's back to the botanical lab to drop the datapad off to Thomas.
Any luck finding one of those manuals? No kidding. Really? Well, which one? Ain't that just ironical? If I'd worked a little longer back at the cannery, I might have found this myself. 2 whole data pads? Be still my beating heart. Oh, almost forgot your payment. Sure, I'd be glad to take them off your hands.
And now, in order to get my ship off the ground, I need that power regulator. And to get it, I have a choice to make at the power plant.
I always wanted to poke around in here.
It's a bit of a trek to the geothermal power plant, but Parvati and I make it there. There's an electrified gate blocking the most obvious route inside, and as I search for an alternate way in, we come under attack yet again. Surprisingly enough, it's not marauders this time, but rather robots defending the plant. Of course, we get the jump on them and then enter the building. There are more cold, soulless robots inside, but they prove no object as I make my way to the master control terminal. But there's an error. The power redirection function fails, and now I have to activate 3 electrical track switches manually. Well, we get right to it, fighting our way through more robots in the plant and activating the first.
Just 2 more. What'll happen to Miss McDevitt's? Get ready!
Second,
Want to go. If we send the power to Miss McDevitt, what happens to the Veil?
and third, switches.
The last. I'm not sure what the right is. Alls I know is the decision's final.
And finally back to the master control terminal. But here, Parvati makes it clear that she thinks cutting off power to Edgewater would be cruel.
Hey, mister? Look, I know you want your power regulator and all, but I just gotta ask you. Do you understand what you're about to do? I don't think you should cut off Edgewater's power. I think it would be cruel. I'm sorry. That just sort of came out all at once. Edgewater's hurting. We've been losing workers year after year, and corporate hardly ever sends replacements. There's barely enough Saltuna to fill our bellies anymore. But the town's got some good people in it. Decent, hard-working folk just living their lives the only way they know how. They don't deserve to be punished. Miss McDevitt's built something beautiful. Somehow, she's talked the ground into giving life again. It's plain to see she's made the Vale a better place. Fed the hungry, tended the sick. Gave a home to those that had none. But Miss McDevitt delights in Edgewater's suffering. She wants to hurt the town. Do you really want to be party to that kind of hatred? Well, that sure sounds like Mr. Thompson. If he was standing here, I imagine he'd remind us of how we're all one big, happy Spacer's Choice family. In Mr. Thompson's eyes, those deserters are still part of the Spacer's Choice family. The family must work together in order to survive. I hate to say it, but I think Mr. Thompson's got a point. Unless those deserters come back, Edgewater's as good as dead. Cutting off their power might be the only way. Sorry, I didn't mean to babble on like that. I felt like I had to say something. Really? I mean, wow. Thanks. No one's ever told me those words in that order.
We speak at length, and then it's decision time. Accessing the terminal, I weigh both options and ultimately decide. To route the power to the botanical lab, cutting off Edgewater. Parvati doesn't say anything more about it as we head on back to Edgewater to collect the power regulator.
Maybe Adelaide was right to leave.
Desertion is a criminal offense, punishable by hard labor.
Back at the cannery, there's a large group
I
of
put my
concerned
whole life in that
citizens at the
cannery.
door that I pass by on my way to confront Thompson.
You picked a fine time to visit, stranger.
You want to know what gets my bile churning? Edgewater has suffered a cavalcade of disasters, plague, marauders, desertion. Then you wandered in town. And I was so damn sure our luck was starting to turn. I never knew how right I was. Just answer one question for me. Why'd you do it? You're right. I put the fate of our town in the hands of some feckless transient. This is my fault, and all Edgewater's paying for my mistake. Whatever you were hoping to find down here, I advise you to turn around and leave. I have got guards posted with orders to fire on you.
Of course, Thompson tries to pin his woes on me, though the cannery and the town itself were in bad shape long before I got here. He also threatens me with his corporate guards if I try to take that power regulator. But it doesn't deter me, and Parvati and I mop the floor with Thompson's troops. And then I grabbed the regulator. On the way out of the cannery, Thompson himself attacks me, and though I take him out easily, this enrages the workers and remaining guards, who turn on both me and Parvati. I don't want to attack these poor folks, and instead make a run for the gate, Parvati close behind me. There's nothing more to do here but head back to my ship and get it space-worthy. Once there, Parvati is in awe.
Is this your ship? Oh my stars, she is just so handsome! Does she have a name yet? What's her drive model? Oh, gosh. Listen to me babbling. When I was in Edgewater, I dreamed of flying on a real ship, working on a real engine, belonging to a proper crew. Edgewater won't last another season without power, but that don't change the fact that I'm indentured to Spacer's Choice. Company expects me back at my post. I have imagined it, but until you came along, I never thought I had the choice. I want to ask you something, and you can say no, but can I come with you? I could tend to your engine. I know my G-valves for my catalyzers, and I can keep your ship singing. And if you ever need a pair of eyes watching your back, I can do that too. What do you think? Yes! I mean, thanks. You won't regret this, mister. Captain. I can call you Captain now. Ha! I got a captain.
I convince her to leave Spacer's Choice behind and come travel with me. Inside the ship, I find the Vicar, who's ready to go.
Well, I certainly am looking forward to flying on a ship named the Unreliable. I'll just head upstairs and claim a room.
I speak to Ada.
Captain, I have detected that the town of Edgewater is now without power. I appreciate you doing your part to hasten their demise. What can I do for you, Captain? Do you know how to install a power regulator? Outstanding, Captain. Your aptitude for engineering will prove invaluable in the event of another catastrophic engine failure. Our engine room is located behind you, across the cargo bay, up the ladders.
And am directed to the engine room, where I install the power regulator. Then it's back to Ada.
What can I do for you, Captain? All systems are operating within acceptable parameters. I am prepared to bring the Unreliable into low-altitude orbit. This should prove an adequate test of our flight capabilities.
Who launches the ship. We blast off into low orbit, and adventures waiting for us in the stars. What adventures will those be? Stay tuned to find out, and until then, thanks so much for watching.